Hello folks, I hope that you're having just a great day today and keeping yourself safe in our modern COVID world. Today we'll take another look at the collection that I've been reviewing for you by Clark Ashton Smith, A Vintage from Atlantis. And today we're taking a look at a story called The Weird of, and I'm not going to be able to even try to pronounce this. Clark Ashton Smith will sometimes do that. He'll have characters with weird and bizarre names, but it's in here. And the weird it starts on page 141 in my book and ends at 149. It's 8 pages long. Now this is set in Comorium City in the northern Hyboria, which is one of Clark Ashton Smith's worlds. Clark Ashton Smith is one of the great world builders of fantasy in the early era. And as opposed to H.P. Lovecraft, who's the monster maker, and Robert E. Howard, who is the sort of hero maker with Conan and Cthulhu of Lovecraft, Clark Ashton Smith makes these great detailed, fleshed out worlds like Avern, Zothique, which we've looked at before, and Hyperborea. So this story is set in his Hyperborea cycle, and this is now the second time I've read this story. Just knocked it out a couple of days ago. Now, I've been in the Clark Ashton Smith mood ever since I reviewed The Maker of Gargoyles for you, after I was watching a video on YouTube that did a deep dive into gargoyles and showed that the very first gargoyle myth, modern fantasy, comes from Clark Ashton Smith in the early 30s for the pulp magazine Weird Tales. And I said, I have that story, let me read it. And I did some research and found out that YouTube creator was actually correct. This is the first appearance of gargoyles in the gargoyle sort of fantasy of them being animated, evil, what they look like. It goes to this story by Clark Ashton Smith. And so I wanted to read that, and once I started reading this collection, I wanted to continue. So I've knocked out another story in it. Now this story I've read once before when I read the entire Hyperborea cycle, but I read it again and I still enjoy it, so I wanted to review it for you and give it to you. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. I do enjoy this story. I think it's about a 7 on 10. It's well written, it's well paced, it's very interesting, and it can be even in the Cthulhu Mythos, and we'll talk about that at the end because it does have a character in the Cthulhu Mythos in it. So in this story, we're going to open up and we're going to crack it open, and it does have our main character, whose name I can't pronounce, but again, it's at the beginning of the video, because it's the name of the story, and he is in Comorium, which is the largest city in Hyperborea, the central area. And he is a usurer, and what he does is he actually will trade gems, trade things for money. He'll act as sort of an ancient pawn shop, if you will. He'll give out money for people that loan him things, and he knows that a lot of things that he gets is hot, and he doesn't care. It doesn't bother him at all. He knows they're not going to come back for his stuff. And he is negotiating with somebody who is negotiating these two uncut and very large gemstones that are bigger than the ones that he has seen before. So he agrees to a very strong price because he knows that these are stolen, right? And so he really offers a really strong price. Ultimately, they agree to 200 pieces of coin, and he gives it out to the person. The person leaves. He knows he's never going to see him again. He sets down his gems. And then after about a couple of hours, the gems fall off the table, and they start rolling away while he's still in his shop. And they start rolling. And so he leaves his shop to follow the gems. Where are the gems going? What's happening? What's going on? I'll go ahead and leave you to it. But that is the weird story for you. I do like it. I think it's creepy. It's well written. Now, again, is this story in the Cthulhu Mythos? Well, let's take a deep dive. The Cthulhu Mythos was created by H.P. Lovecraft for Weird Tales, for a lot of the stories that he was writing, where he initially would include his own elements of horror in it. It's a shared universe. And then his friends, Clark Ashton Smith, Robert E. Howard, and others that were writing for at the same time in the pulp era also started sharing some things back and forth. Well, in that story, Clark Ashton Smith creates a character called Cthulhu, who is in the Cthulhu Mythos proper because he created it in Hyperborea's story, and it was really fun, and it was incorporated by H.P. Lovecraft in a later story that is a Cthulhu Mythos story. And Cthulhu is now one of the big, mean, bad creatures in the Cthulhu Mythos proper. And it's in this story by Clark Ashton Smith as one of the antagonists that somebody's going to come across. So because of that, this story is arguably a Cthulhu Mythos story, although very few of Clark Ashton Smith's are traditional horror that are in the mythos. Instead, they are more fantasies, and this story is certainly a fantasy story too. So I'll leave you to it. You can read the story and decide for yourself if it's actually in the mythos proper. It probably is, because it does include Cthulhu and by the person who created Cthulhu, so I would say it is in the mythos proper, but I'll leave you to it if you want to decide it for yourself. But then I'll go ahead and leave you to it. Have you read the story? What did you think of it? Did you like it or dislike it? I'm happy to, or you want to talk about some of the details in the story? I am happy to engage you with that further. If you enjoyed this story, please, and this review thereof, please feel encouraged to hit that subscribe button, because there's going to be so many more of these to follow. And finally, hey, I just want to thank you for taking some time out of your day and investing in my video. We all have so many things happening in our lives today, right? So the fact that you spent this time with me is so humbling, and I really appreciate it. So thanks again, and have a great day.